Well, we are headed into the home stretch now. This is it. 2 more weeks of Startups Discipleship. This is track 6, week 5 of our practical teachings on launching your startup. And this week we're going to talk about fruitfulness and multiplication. Fruitfulness and multiplication. From the very beginning of time, this has been God's command to mankind. Be fruitful and multiply. God said it to Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden. He said it to Noah after the floodwaters resided. And some of Jesus' first parables were about taking what we've been given and multiplying it. Fruitfulness and multiplication. I've always seen fruitfulness as an internal multiplication and multiplication as an external fruitfulness. Does that make sense? Okay, probably not. Let's try this again. Fruit is a product of the health of the tree or the vine. Fruit is produced naturally, organically, when a tree is healthy internally. Therefore, fruitfulness is a sign of something internal. If the tree is healthy internally, it will produce fruit externally. Even the fruit of the Spirit, according to Galatians chapter 6, are all internal characteristics of a person, right? Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Those are all the internal qualities of a person. Whereas multiplication happens when fruit is removed from the tree and the seed is planted elsewhere. If the fruit from the healthy tree is planted in another area, then another healthy tree will rise up. Multiplication is an external sign of health. Fruitfulness is my personal health. Multiplication is that same health being passed on to another. I hope that clarifies things. Maybe not. All right, let's try it this way. More simply put, fruitfulness is to be productive. Multiplication is to increase exponentially. Now, as a leader, there are a number of ways that you can measure fruitfulness, that you can be productive. You can measure your personal character traits. How do you measure up with the fruit of the Spirit? Are you loving, joyful? Are you at peace? Are you a patient person? Are you kind towards other people? Are you gentle? Are you self-controlled? Are you seeing more of these qualities on a day-by-day basis or less? Are you the best version of you? Are you all that God intended you to be? You can also measure fruitfulness based on your personal productivity. Do you set goals and accomplish them? Do you see things through or quit when things get tough? Are you easily distracted? Are you highly productive at what you set out to do? But in terms of internal and external, you can also measure fruitfulness by looking internally at your team rather than externally towards those you're trying to reach, which means you can measure the fruitfulness of your staff's character traits. How do they measure up regarding the fruit of the Spirit? Are you leading them in a way that would call them to more fruitfulness in their personal character traits? But you can also measure fruitfulness in the internal team's productivity. Are they as productive as they can be? Are they easily distracted? Do they accomplish the goals that you have set out for them or that they have set out for themselves? What these character traits are and what is considered productive are going to vary greatly depending on the type of organization, business, or ministry that you're setting up. How many dogs can be bathed in an hour might matter to a dog groomer, but it's certainly not going to matter to a soup kitchen for the homeless. So this week, one of the things that I want you to do is to define what internal fruitfulness looks like in the context of your startup. Then there's multiplication. Whether done intentionally by planting seeds in the ground or unintentionally by seeds falling off the tree and landing in the ground, multiplication happens when the source is healthy. It is a part of God's natural established order. The same is true of healthy people and healthy organizations. They multiply, intentionally or unintentionally. Chuck Smith was the founder of Calvary Chapel, and though he's known as an incredible evangelist, his church really didn't do much in terms of outreach. Chuck Smith used to say, "Healthy sheep birth healthy sheep." If multiplication is an external increase, then how do we measure that? Are you shaping and molding and raising up new leaders? Are you mentoring others and sharing the leadership wisdom that you've gathered? How many people have you discipled? How many people have you multiplied your gifts into? Again, this is also true organizationally. Is your startup repeatable? can somebody else duplicate what you're doing and have it be successful too? For lack of a better term, can you franchise this thing? If this startup is only something that you can run, then I believe you need to question your approach as a leader, because we've been called to not only fruitfulness, but multiplication. So this week, your task is to sit down and take time to define what fruitfulness looks like in your context, both personally and organizationally, and then define what multiplication looks like for you, personally and organizationally. Now go, be fruitful,